Welcome.
We're back.
We're definitely back. Welcome to a new episode of
What's
What's
brewing,
Brewing
sis?
Sis. I'm Bianca.
I'm Deanna, and Shelly will be with us shortly, and we will all still be together serving the brew.
That's right.
Yeah, so this
So,
is season 2, episode 8.
absolutely.
Moving right.
Absolutely. We're just rolling through these new seasons, this new season, rather. So, moving pretty quickly. Already to episode 8. It feels like we just
Yeah,
started.
absolutely. So, just to recap last episode, which was February, all about you.
How about you? It was great speaking with a life coach, Kim, to kind of just go over relationships with yourself, friends and family, and how to work on yourself, and also to speak about her life's work. It's great when people find purpose and are able to help bring healing to other people.
Absolutely. She left us with a lot of good tips and pointers and tools to use to, work on yourself first before even thinking about outside relationships, but also knowing yourself and how it can help you relate well with others. So,
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. So, speaking of healing, Tiana wants you to introduce our next guest.
yeah, our guest today is a physician, but she's so much more. She wears so many hats, and she's the founder of a wonderful organization, the I Am Able Foundation. But without further ado, let's do our formal introduction.
We'll be back.
Dr. Lamenta Sweetie Conway is the founder and board president of the I Am Able Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that she describes as a mentoring scholarly community whose motto is excellence, period, serve always. The foundation is focused on community and global service with pipelines to medicine and STEM with the objective of bridging social economic gaps so that all of Chicago's children would have a shot at the not so impossible dream. Dr. Conway is trained in both internal medicine and pediatrics at the University of Illinois. She has celebrated over 22 years as a physician, with most of her career teaching in top academic hospitals in the Midwest. In her current professional role, she is Deputy Chief of Medicine for the Illinois Department of Health, where she and her team are responsible for the medical care of over 40,000 offenders in custody in the Illinois state prisons. She is best known for her warm and exuberant personality and bedside manner as a physician and clinical director devoted to the care of vulnerable populations. She is also known by most simply as Sweetie, a childhood nickname that followed her into her semi-professional career as a singer of soulful gospel music and later into professional circles from the hospital floors to the boardroom. Most of her mentees affectionately know her as Dr. Sweetie, a name they created. We are so pleased to have her in our midst today, Dr. Lamenta Sweetie Conway.
Hi, Dr. Conway.
Hi there. Thank you for that introduction. I was like feeling warm and fuzzy. That was nice. Thank
I'm glad you
you.
like it.
I did. Thank you.
I was like, you definitely wear many hats
I
there.
do.
So it's great to actually meet you again because we have met before. I joined Deanna at one of the I Am Able events, so it was great being there.
Yeah, it was our Roaring Twenties gala. That was
Oh, wow. Yes, we had fun with that.
yes, that was so much fun. So before we get into the organization itself, can you just tell us a little bit about your own path to becoming a physician?
Well, I always tell people that you have to see it to be it because otherwise it's more like the impossible dream. And as a kid growing up in the Inglewood community of Chicago, I had a dream that was nestled deep in my spirit, but I had no idea whatsoever how to make it happen. So that dream I had became a dream deferred, but thankfully it didn't become a dream denied. And somewhere along the way, I bumped into mentors at that time from the Champs organization. And one of the first things that one of the elders spoke to me, he's now gone on, but he says, daughter, if you want to be a doctor, you're going to be a doctor. He spoke life into me. He told me
Mhm.
that it was possible. And you know, your parents tell you that it's possible. People around you tell you that it's possible. But sometimes you have to hear it from another source. And we are that source. We are that. I always say that what I Am Able Foundation is doing is creating legacy by proxy, meaning that a lot of times when you see folks in the medical field, you'll see generations and generations of doctors. It'll be Kaplan and Kaplan and Associates,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, LLC. And, you know, you don't often see our names in, you know, generationally speaking. But that is the reason why I Am Able Foundation, we are the extended family of all of these young Chicago area kids. We're your auntie, we're your uncle. Don't say you don't have nobody in medicine because you got us. You have family, and we're creating medicine and legacy by proxy. So I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to, you know, help kids understand that it is not an impossible dream. And not only that, they are desperately needed in medicine. So that's, you know, that's the over, you know, that's the overarching goal and, you know, reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes. Can you expand on that a little bit? You mentioned that they are desperately needed. I know firsthand that you always talk to the students about the shortage of physicians. Can you touch on that a bit?
Yeah, we are. I think, you know, when I remember when I was doing some study on the stats some time ago, they talked about, you know, the looming healthcare shortages of 2025. None of us knew that COVID was going to preempt all of that and it was going to
Yeah.
hasten it and bring it and bring it to the forefront. But I think when you start thinking about what happened in the pandemic, and it was clearly on display that there's healthcare equity affecting vulnerable populations. One of the things that we heard talked about a lot during the pandemic was the closing of safety net hospitals on the south side of Chicago,
Mhm.
closing of birthing facilities where people would have to drive from the far south suburbs all the way down to places like University of Chicago. Care is always best in the community when it can be in the community. But who's going to be that person? Usually, one thing that they have actually demonstrated, the stats, Black doctors in overwhelming numbers go back to the communities that they came from. We're kind of creatures of habit. We want to go back to the places where we came from. It's familiar. And then many of us also have this yearning in our heart to serve the people in the community from whence we came. The I will have to tell you, especially working in corrections as well, that the numbers for healthcare and in terms of the deficits are staggering. There's
Yeah.
not enough money to pay all of the people that we actually need. We need young people, but I want to highlight we don't just need young people. We need young people who care, actually care and want to give compassionate medicine. I think what we all are tired of having is going into, you know, our doctor's visits with people that we view as not compassionate. One of the missions of I Am Able Foundation is not just to help close this healthcare gap and this equity gap, but also there's a compassion gap. So a lot of what I Am Able Foundation does is try to mentor, you know, wonderful characteristics of love, humanity, and compassion, and even bedside manner to our people. So, yes, there are tremendous deficits, but we're trying to close those in many ways.
I was speaking to the ladies recently about I was looking for a specialist, African American, a black doctor that was a specialist, and I literally found two. One who had an office not too far from me, but had packed up and moved to another state, and one that was all the way downtown. And it was like there can't just be two in the area. There just can't be.
No, there's
But
three.
but
No,
it's like, you know, when you try to find a black doctor, it's like a needle in a haystack.
Absolutely. Why is that though? It's because we have 13% population of Black folk, but when you go to try to find your doctor, if you're a Black man, how are you going to find a Black male doctor when Black male doctors represent 2% of practicing physicians in the United States of America? How are you going to find your Black woman doctor when we represent 13% of the population and they only just a little under 3% of the practicing physicians? So there is a real actual physical gap of people. So even though we have more in Chicago, there is definitely a deficit for sure.
I think what you're doing with the proxy is part of the cause. I think a lot of people aren't exposed to their neighbor being a doctor or a doctor in the area, so they don't know that being a doctor probably could be a career course for you if that's what you're interested in, but they don't have that in the area to, have that conversation with said person in order to make that decision.
Oh no, that is true, Bianca. You have to see it to be it. And sometimes I feel like I'm living, more than the impossible dream, being in this space, because growing up in the Inglewood community at the time that I did, I actually was a kid growing up that didn't even have a doctor. My first time going to see a doctor was 16 years old. How do you get a chance to model in your heart, in your spirit, in your eyesight, what it would look like if I could be a doctor, if you don't even see a doctor? My mentors, as I often tell people, and you guys are just a little bit too young for this, but my mentor was a white man by the name of Marcus Welby, MD. Got to check him out on YouTube. So, but that's who I looked at. And for some reason, God will put things in your heart and eventually the dots will connect out there in the universe. And I'm very thankful for that. But at that time, I looked at that white man on television going from house to house with that little bag. And I kept saying to myself, man, I like to do that. And that's all I had to hang on to. And I'm telling you, that's not enough for most people.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe we also have a video of the I Am Able story. So we like to introduce the foundation with the video story, and then we'll talk more about it. Bianca, can you do that?
Kid needs to see someone that looks like them doing something they want to do. I think it is the difference between success and failure. My name is Dr. Lamenta Sweetie Conway, and I'm the founder of I Am Able Foundation. I Am Able Foundation is a Chicago-based organization whose mission is to engage underrepresented minorities and expose these young people to careers in medicine. We provide one-to-one physician mentoring along with clinical experiences, camps, conferences, and a plethora of activities that expose our children to careers in medicine. We talk a lot about legacy. You'll see generations of doctors that are from certain ethnicities. And you don't often see that in people of color because we're often first generation. A part of what we believe in our program is that we create legacy by proxy. You have to see things to even develop an interest in it. A lot of young people don't have Black doctors or Latino doctors. So how do they see themselves? How can we make the experience of medicine more common, so that kids will actually look at medicine as just another career?
Being a part of this is just a dream come true because I know the impact that it has on people like me who I'm watching come up from the same position I found myself in years ago.
Seeing Dr. Sweetie every single time at I Am Able gives me the validation and the confidence that I need to know that I can accomplish the things that she's accomplished and that one day I'll be a physician too.
My goal is to raise up this cohort of amazing young people that become the norm rather than the exception. And I feel like when that happens, our stories will begin to change. That's why I'm inspired. And that is what inspires me.
That was definitely inspiring.
Right. I'm like, as a parent of the organization, I tell other parents coming in all the time, like, after you've been around Dr. Conway and the other physicians and everything that happens, you'll start believing you could be a doctor too, which
I know.
And it's never too late. I mean, you know, some people definitely change careers and do things at a older age. So, I mean, if some older folks out there think now's the time to champion up being a doctor, go for it.
And we do have students that are older. That's what's so beautiful about I Am Able Foundation. We have some students that are in the 40 range, you know, so it isn't too late. If you know, we're here to support you. I tell the 40-year-olds, I'm your mama too. So I'm your doctor mama. I got all of you. You know, what makes I Am Able Foundation very special is it is a family. It is a community. And that is the special sauce. We do a lot of things. We have a ton of different programs. We're partnered with major academic or, you know, organizations, like, for example, Northwestern is one of our formal partners, Rush, University of Illinois, VA, Westside VA was what I used to call it, but Jesse Brown Level VA, so many places, University of Chicago. We have wonderful relationships with all of these places, wonderful summer programs, MCAT prep programs, you name it, we do it. But I think what I remember, I was meeting with a Northwestern team, and they were asking, how did you guys get so many students in the medical school all in one year? And every year it's a new success story. Obviously, it took time to build up and get these kids to this place, but we're there now. And this past year, we got 8 students accepted into medical school. And this year, we're already at 4, and the academic school year is not even done. And I told her, I said, the secret sauce is the community. We are a community of people, family members, people like Deanna and the Proud Parents. Proud Parents are parents raising our upcoming doctors. That's what that mnemonic stands for. Volunteers that actually, we're on top of these kids. We're calling them on the telephone. Where you at? What happened to you? So case-based management and inspiring them, working with them with their academic advising. It's just a very cohesive, wonderful community. Then we do a lot of things together. As they say, the family that prays together stays together. It's nothing for a number of our prayer warriors to get on the phone with these kids before they're getting ready to take an MCAT exam and pray them through. It's nothing for our volunteers to just spend time with them at our various, if it's the Hawaiian luau, if it's Mentor-Mentee match day, it's all of these family-like environment. These kids are part of a family. They are loved. And not by just one doctor, not by just Dr. Conway, but by everyone that pours into their lives. That's what the secret sauce is.
Yes. And I'm like, one thing, Bianca, before we continue, which is great, is pre-recorded, so we have the power of fixing, editing, and putting it all together. I skipped over icebreakers.
I was just about to say that. I was going to say we could just do them right now.
Right, we can do them now.
Yeah.
Shelly can decide whether she edited them back at the beginning or leave them here. But yeah, Shelly, you're there. I see you coming in. I think I was so excited to jump into the topic of, even though I told you we were going to do icebreakers, I skipped but yeah, so we're going to just do a few icebreakers to loosen things up and to let our audience get to know a little bit more about you as a person and us as well. So this segment of icebreakers will be Would You Rather. So first off, would you rather have a magic carpet that flies on its own or your own personal robot?
I think I'd rather have a magic carpet.
Okay. Bianca, how about you?
I think I'll go with magic carpet as well. I think I'm afraid of robots.
So wait a minute. Dr. Conway, Bianca is very afraid of heights, but you would rather fly on a carpet? So you're more afraid of robots
have you seen iRobot? Have you seen the movie iRobot?
I have not.
Then talk to me once you see it.
Well, you know what? I'm assuming that this magic carpet is well equipped and well trained. That was the underlying.
So I'm also not a big fan of heights, so I was going to say my own robot. But I guess I should watch iRobot first.
And there's a new movie out. What's it called?
Megan.
Megan. Child. No.
So I haven't seen these movies with these bad robots. So maybe I'll change my answer.
Shelly, what's your answer?
I was like, can you guys see me? Hi, Dr. Conway.
Hello.
I definitely magic carpet for me too. I have seen iRobot, and yeah, I'm not playing with the robots.
Now, for some reason, I cannot hear nor see Shelly. Oh, there she is. I can see her now.
You're here, girl.
I didn't hear your answer, Shelly. Sorry.
The magic carpet.
Okay.
Yes, I believe in magic.
So the next one, sorry.
Would you rather be able to crawl on all fours or only be able to walk backwards?
Only be able to crawl on all fours or only be able to walk backwards?
I don't like crawling too much. I got bad knees. So I'm going, if I got to walk backwards and then circle back to where I started from, that'll work for me.
Hilarious.
I'll do the walk backwards as well because I don't see myself crawling around. That just ain't gonna work.
Shells?
Yeah, I'm gonna also say walk backwards because crawling, I just can't.
Yeah, I agree. Walking backwards, we all walk backwards. So next up is, would you rather only be able to whisper or have an incredibly loud voice?
Well, I've been told I have a rather rambunctious voice. I've done that already. So maybe I'll try to whisper it. People tend to listen when you whisper a little bit better anyway. So I think I'll go with that.
I don't know. I feel like if I could only whisper, I would get annoyed that people can't hear me. And also I feel like people may not listen if you whisper. So I'm going with loud voice.
Yeah. People always have their opinion about my voice too. I like rambunctious. Maybe I should start saying it's rambunctious. But I will whisper. Maybe people will listen more.
So people already accuse me of whispering or always say that they can't hear me. So maybe I'll go with a loud voice because
have you noticed we all doing the opposite of what we do? I've been loud and proud. It's time to be silent, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can hear myself. Why can't they hear me? But apparently I need to talk louder. So the next one is always enter a room by announcing your name or always exit out by cartwheeling. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Would you rather? Oh, okay. Would you rather speak every language or play every instrument?
I
say speak every language. I think, yeah.
I do too. As a musician, I love music. But I think that speaking in every language allows you to communicate with so many more people.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I'll say language as well. Although I do want to learn how to play some instruments, but I think I'll go with every language because I'm nosy. I also want to know what people
they're saying.
Yeah. I'm just as nosy, but I just have a love for music and instruments and being able to, I don't know. I think music is a different form of language. So it would definitely be the instruments. I want to play the piano. I wish I knew how to play it.
We should take some music lessons.
Yes.
When we have a all-girl band added to our repertoire. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Dr. Conway could be on the mic, sing for us. You know.
Next podcast.
So the next one, would you rather always enter a room by announcing your name or always exit by cartwheeling out?
I want to cartwheel out. That's the final boom. So we're going to cartwheel out. We're going to slide in and cartwheel out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to announce my name. Hello, it is Bianca and I'm here.
Out of the scene Coming to America. Yes, I'm going to go with Dr. Conway too. I would rather cartwheel out. I feel like that I should have the body to do it, to be able
Right. Right. Cartwheeling out sounds fun. I don't know if I could do a cartwheel right now, but I'm willing to build up to that. So yeah, I like the cartwheeling out.
That's funny.
Would you rather go to the doctor or to the dentist?
I'm going to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm very afraid of the dentist. I mean, my goodness.
Really?
Yeah. And my mania during COVID, oh my goodness, my family laughed at me because I was watching everything they were doing. I didn't even want to be in a room next to some place where they were drilling because I thought COVID was in the air. Oh, my teeth took a hit during COVID. I was already scared, and that COVID piece did it. So
Yeah.
I can handle the medicine part much easier.
I was gonna fabricate my answer and say doctor, but I would honestly prefer to go to the dentist than the doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you doing in there?
No, I mean, you go to the doctor and sometimes it depends. If they're like, hey, I found something, and you're like, what? It becomes a thing. I don't know. Dentist is like, what's the worst that could happen?
For me, it would definitely be doctor because I just got my braces off maybe a few months ago, 7 months ago. And I think I spent most of the time with my eyes closed when I was there because the sound of a drill or the sound or just them being in your mouth is just the worst. Like, give me a physical, like, prescribe me some medicine, but don't be out in my area in my mouth.
Yeah, I picked doctor over dentist too. I feel like the dentist sounds painful. And usually the doctor's office isn't painful. Like you have to have a procedure or something. Even the pain is like afterwards, not during the visit. So
exactly.
I think for me, because I have braces currently, like I be in there talking, they be talking to me with the little jaw stretchers, and I just be talking back like they can hear me.
They don't ask you a question until you have something in your mouth.
Huh?
They don't ask you a question until
exactly. It's like, well, I was just like,
that must be a strategy of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah. A way to relax, maybe.
Maybe so.
Well, that's it for our Would You Rathers. Thanks for playing along. and now back to what we were saying in regards to medicine and the foundation and all of those things. Dr. Conway, did you always want to be a doctor?
I did consider, I think like a lot of kids, a few different things. At one point, I thought I would be a lawyer. And my daughter ended up being a lawyer. But I tell her, that I'm still the head attorney in the household. The head prosecutor anyway. But I wanted to be a lawyer at one point. But I think to be honest with you, I believe that a lot of the reason why I chose law is because early on was because I thought that I could do that, and that's unfortunate when kids don't really, my heart was still medicine, but I just didn't know if that was possible. I hadn't seen a doctor, didn't have a doctor till much later in life. And then when I realized that there were all of these barriers like math and science, I thought I couldn't do math and science. That was, as they say on Maury's show, that was a lie. I could do math and science. That was the lie that was told to me. And sometimes, the teachers aren't very good. And then you get a chance, sometimes you have to step back, redo it, and he's like, oh man, I always could do this, so sometimes that inspiring teacher changes things. But in my heart, I always wanted to be a doctor from a very young age.
Yes. If you don't mind too, can you tell us a little bit about your family dynamics? And Dr. Conway has an amazing family. Her kids are amazing. Her husband's wonderful. But maybe just sharing a little bit about your family dynamics. Her mom is amazing. Talk about them a little bit.
Sure. My mom is 92 years old. And one of the things that I love about her, among many, is that she told me, if you become a doctor, I'm going to help you. because one of my concerns about becoming a physician, because remember we talk about these dreams deferred, when you don't get a chance to get mentoring early on, you make a lot of errors, you make a lot of mistakes, and you go this circuitous pathway, and oftentimes off the pathway, and many of these kids never make it back. And so by the time that I was really, seriously pondering medicine, then my next barrier is that I was already married and I had kids. And I was thinking, man, how am I going to pull this off? I've never met a doctor that went to medical school. And I tell you, at the time, they were very infrequent that you would ever see that. When I started medical school, I was the only there were two mothers, but I was the only one that actually was, at home in my home with the family. But anyway, before that, I remember my mom telling me, she says, if you get into medical school, I don't want you to worry about it. I'm going to help you. And then I said, but I've never seen it done before. And she says, well, you be the first. And that was a real blessing to me. And she kept her word, so help me. And I remember the day that I got accepted into medical school. I was a microbiologist at the Illinois Department of Public Health. Back then, we ain't had no cell phones. So, I've been a doctor. Actually, it's 25 years now. But they called me at Rush to tell me that I got in. And boy, I remember my stomach being so big. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And first person I called was my mother. And I said, we did it, Mama. We did it. And so that's one of the blessings. So I actually started medical school with 3 kids under the age of 3. Was day one at Rush, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old baby. And another funny story is my husband, because I remember when I first applied to medical school, first 2 times I applied to medical school. So there you go. Sometimes you gotta, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. And after the second time, though, that's why I can really relate to these kids in this program, because I know some of the things that they get hit with. And I remember after I applied twice and didn't get in, and I was praying and believing God, how we be naming it and claiming it, believing it and receiving it. And I did all of that and it still didn't work. And I said, well, there's no failure in God. So maybe the failure's in me. And nonetheless, it just can't be done. They don't want me. And I really pitched a sorry story. And I remember my husband came to me, and it's so funny because he don't remember any of this. He said, well, sweetie, you have to take the MCAT over. And he says, I said that. I said, well, the Lord must have used you or something like that. And I tell you, I was pregnant with my 3rd child, Corey, and I was taking the MCAT. And this is the truest story. As I sat there in that room on that day, that's back in the day, y'all know, when we had scan times and little bubbles. And I remember I looked at question 1, didn't know it, 2, 3, and I got to 10, the 10th question, and then the tears just flowed down my face. And it was like I could hear the enemy tell me, he says, over for your old Dusty, but you need to just go on someplace and sit down. And it was really like a war was going on with me. I remember having, as we say in medicine, the worst headache of my life. It was a weird thing. And I felt this tug going on in my spirit that you should just walk away. You don't know nothing on this test. So leave while you're ahead. You tried. You did good. It's too late for you. Your window has closed. And the tears were just flowing. And I could hear the Spirit speak to me as clearly as I'm hearing you. And I just heard the Lord says, no, not today. And you can do it. This is yours. And I sat there and I said, Lord, I said, my faith is small. I feel so down and dejected. I said, I don't feel like, Daniel in the lion's den. And I don't feel like Shadrach, Meshach, and the Po Negro. I don't feel like none of that. I said, Lord, I said, I can't do it. And I said, but Lord, if you can just give me, I said, I don't have none of that faith. I said, but if you will just give me what I put in. I felt like that was a reasonable request. I said, I tried. I said, I studied. And I said, can you just help? Will you just Renew.
Bring it back to my remembrance.
Yes, bring it back to my remembrance. Well, can you do that for me, Lord? That's all I ask. Enlighten the eyes of my understanding. Bring it back to my remembrance. That's it. And I said, and I pray this in Jesus' name. And I even remember the enemy telling me, you ain't got time to pray. And it's a time test. And the Holy Spirit told me, you ain't got time to do nothing but to pray. So I paused, I stopped, and I turned it over to the Lord. I prayed the prayer that I mentioned. I turned my Scantron over. And then I looked at question 11. I didn't know that one either. And I got to number 12, didn't know that one. And I said, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. That's all right. We're going to move on in the name of Jesus. And then I got to question 13, and I recognized it. Then I said, wow. And I recognized 14. And I recognized 15. And these were things that I knew. And then as I kept going through the test, my confidence built up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I knew questions 0 through 10 too. And I ended up going backwards, and I ended up scoring in the 90th plus percentile. And that was the year that I got into medical school. And you know what? I likened it to, you know, how you're driving on the expressway and the traffic is really bad and you're trying to weigh off, should you get off at this exit and just drive? And then so you decide to get off. And have you ever gotten to the top of the exit and on the street at the light and you look down ahead of you and all the traffic is just flying by, but you're at the light behind? You know, sometimes in life we just gotta wait.
Yeah.
And you know, and that was my moment to be still and know that he was God and he revealed himself. You know, and you can't get out what you don't put in. We do have to study to show ourselves approved, and I did. But so many times, you know, the enemy will try to grab and steal from us what is rightfully ours. And that was what I was experiencing, was fear in that moment. And that's one of the reasons why we pray for our kids. But in that moment, I stuck it out. And I got through the test. I did extremely well. And that's what they were waiting for. They were waiting for my good score. So that just goes to show you that, you know, it's not going to be an easy fix either. It's not going to be a name it and claim it. You're going to have to put the work in, and you're going to have to keep your feet to the fire, and you can't give up. So that was one of those funny moments that my husband pushed me to do something. And that was what was needed. You know, and I often tell the kids, like, the things that you guys are fearing, you know, you're afraid of the MCAT, but guess what? That process is part of what you need actually to be a good doctor later. You actually need to go through these things. So I'm thankful, you know, in all of our experiences, I give thanks to the Lord. So, you know, that's some of my family. Then my kids, my oldest one is my daughter. She's a lawyer, and she is the founder of I Am Able Law. I tried my best to get her to be a doctor. And when I used to be at work, and she says that, and she tried to call me, she knows she called you like you're not even a doctor. Just keep on calling you on the telephone like you're not at work at all. And I told her, I says, Christian, I am working. And she said, well, did you eat? I said, nope, I didn't eat. She said, well, did you go to the bathroom? I said, nope, didn't do that either. She said, oh, I'm not going to do no job where they don't let you eat. Ain't go to the bathroom or nothing. So she decided that she was going to go into law. My middle son does IT, that he's kind of like into the computers, and my baby son is in banking.
Wow, all great professions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're all great.
Maybe you could get a grandchild to carry out the doctor.
In the meantime, I've been trying to be pleased with this little baby pit bull that's back here making all this fuss. I occasionally mute my mic is because he's in the background causing a flurry of noise. And I also have a baby Yorkie. So hopefully I can get a real person along the way as well.
Her family all supports the organization. They help out. They're at all the events. So they are a champion for this generation of upcoming doctors that Dr. Conway is grooming to be the healthcare heroes.
When did I Am Able start?
So good question. I started I Am Able back in, the vision developed in 2014 after the murder, one of my cousins, the Southside gun violence on Mother's Day. And my baby son, who is a vice president in banking now, he would have actually been at the shooting had he not forgotten his wallet. and that was during the Trayvon Martin time, and he drove all the way back home to pick it up, and that actually saved him from dropping off his family members at the house where the shooting took place. That was the first moment, and then about 6 months later to the day, I didn't actually lose, but one of my favorite cousins was paralyzed by gun violence, and in the Inglewood community. And I remember that was the aha moment that came to me, that I have always thought, ladies, that I would grow up and I would be the sister girl, the sister auntie, that when women came in and when teenage girls came in, I would be that person that they could talk to, that they would enjoy, like what you said that you were looking for, Bianca. And I would be there for those people. And for years I was, and I always thought that was my work, that right there, to go back into the community. And then at that moment, I was like, okay, that was a part of my work, but now my work is to bring some people with me. And that was that moment that I knew that I had work to do in the community. So that was in 2015 by then. And we actually launched our very first class in 2016 with about 30 kids. And it has done nothing but amplify and multiply since that time. We now take in anywhere from 70 to 100 kids a year. We have major conferences. We have the 6th annual Chicago Health Medical, and this year Law Career Citywide Student Conference, is a 3-day conference at Rush University Medical Center. We have our mentoring that opens up, is actually open right now. And then we also have summer programs, orthopedic pipeline programs, MCAT, all the things that I could have only dreamed of, and actually couldn't even dream of because I couldn't even see all of that. So God just really continued to reveal his mission. But it started in 2015, and we've been going strong every year, getting bigger and stronger. And through organic growth, God is sending the right people. I used to get real frustrated years ago because I felt like I couldn't get enough of, especially Black doctors. And part of it's because it's not always enough of them there. But then I think sometimes people are tired and they don't feel like they can do it. And I was like, come on, y'all, we got to push through it. We got to do it for the next generation. But what I've discovered is God is going to send to us who has a spirit to work, who has a spirit to heal, and whoever that is, whether they're white, Black, Latino, whatever they are, we welcome them with open arms because they have come to be true allies. And I'm thankful for it. So that's how we started.
Awesome. Can you talk about what the mentor experience looks like? How the physicians interact with the students that they mentor a little bit?
Yeah. So there's so many components to our flagship program, the Urban Bridges Medical Mentoring Pipeline Program. But one of the key components is the mentoring relationship. Every kid is partnered one-to-one with a physician mentor, ideally in the areas that the kid thinks they like. As I always tell them, all the kids come talking about they want to be a neurosurgeon until it's time to do neurosurgeon stuff. But there's not a whole lot of neurosurgeons to partner with them. I say, well, will you just take a regular surgeon while you sort through all of that? But anyway, we try to partner kids if they want to be an OB-GYN doctor. We try to partner them with OB-GYN doctors, family medicine, peds, internal medicine, cardiology, whatever their interests are. We try to partner them with them. We also partner them with medical students. That's something we began to do later, because one of the things that I have noticed over the years is that the medical students still have a lot of altruistic ideas. Other people get tired when they get older. And unfortunately, but our young people are still quite motivated and want to make a difference. So we partner them also with medical students. And I think that's been beautiful. The kids meet with their mentor typically, especially in the first year, once a month or once every other month. And they can do all types of things. It's meant to be more of a social interaction because we have lots of shadowing and clinical experiences. So the doctors don't really have to provide that experience because how tough it is in a lot of these hospitals. A lot of Black doctors don't really have the facility, or Latino doctors even. They may not even have the power or authority to bring kids with them. It's just so, it's meant, it almost seems in a systemic way to keep the kids out. It feels like that a lot of times. So that's why I'm really thankful for the relationships that we have with people who have the ability to bring our kids into places that they ordinarily would not be invited. But the mentoring relationship is outstanding. The other things that we do is academic advising. We call it affirmative academic advising. We tell the kids what they can do and what rather than what they can't. I think all of us on this call have been the victims, I am sure, at least once, of someone telling us something that we can't do, and they're not qualified to tell them that. And a lot of times, our kids may not look like their finished version of themselves. So we don't need people in these, shall I say, raggedy counseling offices telling our babies what they can and cannot do. I tell them, you can do anything you want to do, but you just have to decide how much you're going to pay for it, because it's going to cost you your time, your attention, and all of that. And sometimes it's going to be anguishing. But if this is something that you want to do, you can make it happen. You might have to do a little bit more than other people. That was my story. I had to get a master's degree because I just did not, coming from the schools that I came from, I didn't have the grades. I wasn't going to get into medical school. So I went and got a master's in biostatistics and epidemiology in public health. And that may not be the best route now. They have other routes, but at that time, that was considered a good surrogate. And I did extremely well. And people said, oh, well, if you could do that, you could do the other. And I graduated with honors. And then I applied to medical school with the MCAT score the way it needed to be. And then I got in. So, we do academic advising. That's another part. And I think the other secret sauce is the Saturday morning professor. These kids are immersed in clinical training from the very first day that they walk in. It's all about clinical training. And that's their whole first 13 months, we call it. The first 13 months, they actually learn how to interview patients. They learn history taking. We call it introduction to the patient. And in the last 6 months of the first year, they also participate in an epidemiology and biostats mini course, where they actually learn how to do a literature review. So if your doctor tells you Paxlovid is a great medication, if you have COVID, how do you know? Maybe it ain't a good medication. So this is important for them to understand the scientific process. So with this particular part of the course, they get a chance to understand how to review and analyze peer-reviewed articles. And they actually present them at the Chicago Health and Medical Career Citywide Student Conference in May. After that first year, the kids can go through what we call semesters. They can do 6 months of GI. They can just keep on choosing things. 6 months of cardiology, 6 months of GI, 6 months of pediatrics. Now we have 6 months of physical exam. Pretty soon we're going to have 6 months of pathology and cytology, like reading pap smears and all sorts of things. So every 6 months they can continue to rotate through different things. And when I call that the secret sauce, the reason why it's the secret sauce too is because the kids are around kids like them. Yeah. They don't have to feel like they're a unicorn. You're now in a room of 100 people who are all trying to do the same thing. So when you go back to school, maybe everybody wants to be LeBron James or they want to be Beyonce. But when you come here, you're in a room where everybody believes, or at least are trying to get their minds right to believe that they could be what they want to be in medicine.
I think that goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that proxy, being around like-minded people and people who are interested in the same things that you're doing, and also getting to see your future self. Yes. In the already established medical students or physicians.
Yes.
And imagining themselves in that role to be able to, progress through the program.
Right. No, that's so true. And then even doing the clinical stuff, right? Because kids want to be doctors. So what we teach them is the fun aspects. So they're going to learn biochemistry, anatomy, and all of that in school. And that can be sometimes torturous feelings. But when they come to Saturday Morning Professor, they're actually asking stuff that a doctor would ask. So Ms. Bianca, what seems to be the problem today? And then we teach them actually, how do you go through an H&P? How do you collect a history of present illness with a patient? Asking certain types of questions that a more novice student or novice trainee could do. And they learn all of that and they write it up. And a lot of the doctors who have come in to participate in our mock clinical at the end of the year have been astounded how advanced the kids are. They couldn't believe it. And 1 year, they are actually writing histories that make them resemble third-year medical students. So it is outstanding. And in fact, some of the medical students that mentor in other capacities, they're like, man, I haven't learned that yet. Because typically that's in the third and fourth year of medical school. So we try to expose them to the part that they're going to enjoy. So that keeps them bonded too, because it's fun. They're like, okay, I'm the doctor now. And that's just a lot of fun. And they're learning valuable techniques and so forth as well.
I have a quick, funny personal story. I had a biopsy by someone who was like a resident or med student maybe, but this was like their first day doing said biopsy. And he was so nervous. He walked into the room. He called me the wrong name. He called me by like his superior physician's name.
Oh no.
So and I was like, are you in the right room? Because that's not my name. And he was so befuddled, like he walked out of the room to reset.
Oh Lord.
So I was kind of like, oh, do I want this person to do this biopsy? But I thought about our students in the foundation, and I'm like, they all gonna have their first day.
That is so true.
It helped me to extend some grace, but I was like, I know the students coming through this program, they're going to be well equipped. They're not going to mess up the patient's name on their but you know, he got himself together and he did fine. But I'm like, that's why we need programs like this, because by the time they get to that point, they will have done this so many times over and over again that it'll be second nature. So the I Am Able Foundation is unparalleled. I don't know of any other program like it, and it's at no cost to the students. So parent support, especially for those who are in high school, is so important to not only get your student to where they need to be, but to, you know, be a champion and partner for this organization that's providing so much. So you as well, Dr. Conway, can you speak about the role of the parent for those high school students who apply and are accepted to the program?
Yeah, I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share that. And I just wanted to say before we moved on that imposter syndrome is real. And these micro and macro aggressions that are young people experience in any profession, and definitely in this paternalistic type of environment, is real. One of the key things that is so important is we have to build confidence for the kids, because they just shriek as if they're a wallflower. So we have to help them to have the maturity on how you protect yourself, advocate for yourself, and fly back just enough under the radar so people don't run up. That's important. You know, because people have a bully mentality. So a lot of times I have to even tell the medical students that, you know, you got to speak up for yourself, but you have to do it confidently and with dignity. But the only way you can do that is to really be confident and, you know, and to be able to overcome the imposter syndrome. And that is really a great part of what we do as well. Because like you said, by the time they get to clinical rounds in real life, they've seen so much of this already. So very, very good point that you made, Deanna. And as it relates to the parents, the proud parents are parents raising our upcoming doctors. Our high school parents are really a blessing to all of our kids, because so many of our college kids don't have parents that participate. They roll in by themselves, you know. They can't get their parents. Once they hit 18, you all know how sometimes in our community, people be signing off on the babies at 18 years old. I'm like, they still babies. Don't sign off on them yet. And so a lot of times, you know, the kids who are college students come alone. So we don't have their parents, and they make about 65% of the kids, and the remainder are high school students. So the proud parents really do a lot. Number one, all parents of high school students are required to interview with the student, because we can help you raise. I want to say help you raise a doctor. Can't raise them by ourselves now. We need the village, and you part of the village is what I had to remind some of our parents. You can't drop them off. No, you are part of the village. So part of what parents are asked to do is to come to our meetings. So whenever we meet, On Saturday Morning Professor, the parents are there as well. So kids are there in one room, parents are there. They're having their strategic planning meetings on how they can help with things like conferences, upcoming gala, and just really be a presence. So that's where our parents have a role. And, we want them to be as integrated into the community as the kids are.
You mentioned there was an application process. When are applications due?
So the applications opened in December and they close on March the 15th. So I am hoping that if you have some young people that are out here listening, or that your son or daughter is interested, especially our Black men, especially our Black girls too. But I mean, I say that with the Black young men because a lot of times they don't realize we have Black young men in the program, so they won't be alone. Please send them. So the applications close on March the 15th. And that's coming up pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
So very soon, as a matter of fact. So we have like about a little more than 2 weeks. So and the website is, and you'll probably have it where they could see it, but it's iamable.org. And it's very important that it's ABEL.org. So it's like Cain and Abel, my brother's keeper. So IamABEL.org. And you'll see all of it under programs.
Yes. And one other thing, if you could touch on too, is that the student advisory board that has been implemented the last couple of years. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we want our kids just to really be a part of everything. And, when we first started, they were a little bit too young and inexperienced to really tell what it is, how they can contribute as young people. But now they've been through a lot of our processes, and many of them have now been accepted into medical school. They've done our MCAT programs. They've been in this community. I think they can really contribute. So we started the executive student board. So they have their own student board, and they help lead projects for volunteer projects, humanitarian projects, mentoring projects where they're mentoring other kids that are coming into the program. And one of the initiatives that they're also working on is extending their outreach to middle school students. So that is a project for the executive board too. Each one can teach one, and each one can reach one. I always tell our kids, you cannot walk through a door of opportunity without leaving a wedge in it for others to follow. It's unacceptable. It's inexcusable to be blessed and not pass it on. So we tell these kids, yes, you even as a freshman, you got something to contribute, and we expect you to contribute. Sometimes we get into a mindset of giving the kids everything. And I think we all are guilty of that to a certain extent because we want to make things go better for the next generation. But at the same time, we have to demand that and teach them that they have to make things better for the next generation and those that are following them too. So that's a big part of what IamAble Foundation does as well.
And so is there any age parameters for the application?
Yeah, so we work with rising sophomores. So basically, if you are currently a freshman in high school, and going to be a rising sophomore by the time we actually start the program, you can apply all the way through college students if they're listening, and even college graduates, because we have a lot to offer the older students who are like me, out there just floating. And you didn't finish school. You didn't either messed it up or did good. You didn't done one or the other, and now you're still looking at your dream, and it's still way over there, and it ain't over. So a lot of times we can grab these college graduate students and say, hey, you just need a little tweaking and a little dusting off, maybe a post-bac program, a year of all A's. That's all you need, and get this MCAT knocked out. You're still only 2 to 3 years away. So yes, we work with the college students. They have different needs. We work with the high school students so that they can plan a trajectory that makes sense. We talk to them and their parents about, when I talk about the academic advising, what they're able to get done, because it's more important to get good grades in college than to try to follow some predetermined track that some advisor made. So we work with high school kids, college kids, and college graduates and post-bac students, all of those ages. And it works well together.
You mentioned applications are due by the 15th. What else is coming up next for IamAble?
So after that, we have, and it's even open right now. If you go to our website and just kind of even look on the homepage, I think the second little slider is going to be about the conference. But our 6th annual Chicago Health Medical and Law Careers Citywide Student Conference. We're having 2 parallel conferences all in one. The first night, Thursday night, is going to be a Black Men in Medicine State of Emergency Summit at the beautiful Gallery Gachard. And we're going to have our Black men celebrated. We're going to have our Black men in medicine come together and talk about what we can do about these 2% of Black men that's practicing physicians and how we can fix this and change that. I always say we need the OGs to rise up, and then they need to be there for the young, the young Black men that are pre-med so they can see some examples of themselves. That's Thursday night. Friday night, I'm super excited that one of my colleagues, Dr. Stanley Andrees, because this is a conference about equity as well. He's a formerly incarcerated person who went to prison in his 20s, graduated while incarcerated, watched his father die from behind bars with diabetes and complications of diabetes, got out and swore that he would make a difference to honor the legacy of his father, and went on to get a PhD in endocrinology, and now is working with prisons to pipelines to prison, or prisons to PhD, where he is working with young people that are incarcerated and trying to show them hope. Actually, on that morning of Friday, I intend to take him to Stateville Prison so he can also meet some of the incarcerated people there and bring them hope. That evening, Friday evening, we'll have workshops. Typically at this conference, we have over 60 clinical how-to workshops. Students will learn everything from advanced suture and EKG, stop the bleed, how to read a CT scan, MRI, point of care ultrasound called POCUS, you name it, and they'll have it. Dentistry, pharmacy, nursing. This is one of our collaborative events. It's not just about medicine at this particular conference. All of the different specialties that contribute to healthcare will be represented on that day, including a whole entire conference for law as well. And then Saturday is the final day. And that's when that's our largest day. We're going to be opening up with Dr. Derek Robinson, the Chief Medical Officer for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Wonderful speaker. He'll be sharing about his book, Improbable MD, and talking about issues of healthcare equity as a young Black man. And then Dr. Rich from Rush University will also talk about violence and its effect on the Black male community. So that's during the early plenary session. And then after that, from 10 o'clock through 4, all sorts of workshops the students can attend. That's going to be absolutely amazing. 4 to 6, we have our poster or scientific poster session for kids that want to share their research and all of that and win prizes. And we close with a lovely cocktail reception. No cocktails for the kiddos, though. That's going to be from 6 o'clock to 8:30 on Saturday evening. And if you guys, I know you remember how the Flint, we all are familiar with the Flint water crisis. Well, the doctor who uncovered the Flint, basically the lead that was in water with the kids and her, she was a pediatrician that actually cried aloud against this healthcare inequity that was impacting the kids that she took care of in Flint, Michigan. And she's going to be there, Dr. Mona Hana Atisha. She's going to be there basically reminding our young people that you can stand up for your community, even though your legislators may come against you, the local city council, the EPA, maybe even the governor. But stand on your square when you know you're doing the right thing for your community. And she's going to show us, because that's what it's about too. It's not just about being a doctor. It's about changing lives. Because I always tell the kids that I don't do this just so you can become a doctor. What I get out of that? I get something out of it when I get a chance to see you pay it forward in the masses so we can change these communities that we've come from. That's what it's really all about.
Absolutely.
And that's the conference.
That's the conference. And then there's a gala.
Yes, and the gala is going to be, it's called Behind the Mask or Behind the Veil. And that's going to be in September the 24th at the Blue Cross building downtown. So that's going to be more fun. I know you came last time, so we want to make sure you come in. But with all of the party gear, because it's going to be kind of carnival style, and it's going to be what do you call that when you don't costume? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, that's to support the programs of I Am Able Foundation, like our MCAT program, our summer programs, clinical programs at the VA, and our research programs as well.
Yes, the organization does take out time to have fun. So although there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of things to learn, Dr. Conway is also a big fan of having fun. So like she mentioned, the luau's,
yeah,
the Christmas parties, you know, she definitely likes to have a good time with the students as well. And it's just to have that balance. Like, yes, we work hard, we play hard. So and you have the opportunity to have some fun. And
yeah, the kids know that Dr. Conway likes to party, so and I include them. Yeah, all of us do it together. It's, you know, the family that parties together stays together too.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. So also, if our audience or anyone that gets the chance to watch the show wants to donate to the organization, tell them how they can do that.
They can go to the I Am Able website, iamable.org, and there's a donate button at the top right. We greatly appreciate it. I always say, if not us, who?
That's right.
Now, when?
Yeah.
Got to support our own. That is one of the challenges. You know, a lot of times for programs like this, we do have to look outside of the community. And I do believe, now I like Beyonce. I'm not a part of the Beehive. I don't want to make nobody mad, but if we can pay $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000, and even $2,000 and $3,000 and $400 and $500, maybe we can consider supporting causes that are really build our community. Of course, we have time to enjoy fellowship and fun and concerts and things, but I say that only to say that we do have the wealth. We have enough wealth in our community to do better by our community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't. And I only mentioned her because I know that is an example of how we are able to come up with the money. And if we can do those kinds of things, if we can support causes that are super important, it elevates our community. I would love to see it when we begin to do more of that, because we really do have to look outside of our community for allies. And, we do have immense power within our community. And I'm hoping that we'll tap into that, and that we will prioritize that at some point. This is so important.
I think what we're doing here today, having you on the podcast, definitely puts I Am Able and Foundation similar to the forefront. It's kind of a each one teach one. A lot of times people don't know organizations like this exist.
That's true.
So they, but we definitely need to, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps,
Amen.
So
I think you guys are doing a great job with that. That's
absolutely.
Well,
I was really enjoying your intro. I was like, they have a lot of fun. This is so nice.
Yes, we do.
Ladies, promoting community, sisterhood. It's just a blessing. I feel welcome, and I'm very honored that you invite me and to talk to your constituents and your friends and family that you share your podcast with. And I hope it's a blessing to someone. I hope our young people, even older people, like you mentioned, are inspired to be their very best version of themselves. All things are possible to them that believe. So thank you for having me.
There you go.
Thank you so much. And we, look forward to connecting with you again. I feel like there's so many things that we could still talk about. Like, we didn't even really touch much on the fact of the work that you do today as Chief Deputy Officer for the state prisons and whatnot. Could be a whole nother segment. But
I'll share that sometime, because that is a whole nother segment.
Yeah.
But important work.
Yes. And I appreciate the work that you do. You don't have to do it. You decided to be the person to champion yourself and others to make a difference in the lives of the young people and, as you say, raise healthcare heroes, not just doctors, but people who actually care
Yes.
and that look to make a difference. So I applaud you for that. And there's so many wonderful things I could say about you. I definitely feel like we're extended family. When I was going through my ordeal, Dr. Conway can get a prayer through, guys. So, she's her talents are so far and wide, and she, along with so many others, like they were definitely a part of my supportive community as well. But I tell people often there were so many different people, women in specific, that were praying for me, and the words that were used were like the same repeatedly, and you guys didn't even know each other. So it was like it was a constant confirmation that God was in the midst of everything that I was going through, and all those prayers of people saying, let it not be hard for her, let this journey be easy, was like, I hear other stories of other people, what they went through, and they had it way worse. So I thank you, and I thank everyone who was bombarding heaven on my behalf.
Amen.
They're like, okay, I got it. Y'all don't want her to have a hard time with this. But we thank you. We love you. We appreciate
love you guys too.
Yes. And we look forward to connecting with you again. And, thanks again for being our guest today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. You guys have a good rest of your Friday and weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye. Well, guys, I will say that a program like that is so pivotal in our community. And like I stated, a lot of people have no idea the impact it has and how it could help raise a whole generation of healthcare heroes and examples to other people in our community.
Absolutely. And I see it, the need for it across so many different positions that you can play, in the work field. Like, we need that in the graphic design and the creative world. I wish I had that even when I got started.
Absolutely.
So I just think that what she's doing is just so powerful, and it stands, to her story. It's kind of like, if I know what somebody else had to go through to get to where I'm trying to go, and their story was worse or it was harder, it kind of gives you that confidence to say, well, if they were able to do it, I know that I could do it. She had 3 kids under the age of 3.
Right. So another great thing that I love about her is, like, when a kid tries to make an excuse or say they was too busy or they didn't get to do something, she's like, ain't nobody busier than Dr. Conway. Like, come on, young people, y'all can't tell me that it can't be done or that you can't do it or that I don't understand, because she does so many things and still makes time for them. Like, if the students have issues or if they call her for something or text her, she responds. So if I can respond to y'all while I'm being a doctor and doing all the other things that I do, there's no excuse. So she is very loving and, motherly, like nurturing to the students, but she's also firm, keep it real with them and call them on, on excuses. Like, no, no
I'm sure it's needed in their journey. So yes, I'm so glad that she was on the show and she's coming back.
Yeah. Talking about her whole other career.
Right. Like there's so many things to talk about with Dr. Conway. Yes.
Yeah.
So, her nickname Sweetie is definitely coined appropriately, because she is very sweet. She has a huge heart, and you can't be around her and not feel loved, even if she's.
I know. I felt loved.
I felt like it was my auntie,
This summer, so
she the cool auntie. She get out there and dance with the kids and everything. So.
And it definitely shows that doctors are people just like everybody else is.
Yes.
Everybody who has a dream or a passion, it always starts off with this, I would love to do X, Y, and Z. So it's just so amazing to see people that look like us in these positions and doing these things. And the fact that we can highlight them, on our tiny little platform that I'm sure is going to grow into a major platform is amazing.
It's already growing. All it takes is a mustard seed, girl. But yes, great conversation. We can't wait to have her back. And visit the I Am Able Foundation's website, which is, Deanna?
www.iamable.org.
Able,
Right.
ABEL.
And that is our business and organization of the week. Also, you could donate on that website. You could take part in the gala.
I don't think the tickets are available for purchase yet for the gala, but keep eyes peeled for that. Yeah, and maybe we'll mention it when they do open up.
Yes.
But you can apply. Your student mentee can apply to the organization. Application deadline is March 15th, and that is also accessible from the website. The citywide conference, which is coming up in May, you can register for that. That is a free event. So if you have interest in careers in medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, and law, that's a whole nother show too. I Am Able Law is a pipeline program for young people interested in law, which is led by Dr. Conway's daughter, who is an attorney. So yes, there's so much that the foundation is offering and doing for the youth.
Yeah, this will be a organization that we will continue to highlight. We'll continue to get the word out about. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video
and share.
And share. I need you to say it.
And share.
And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
And that's always imparting.
Keep it brewing.